We may proceed with the regular calendar. We can start by adopting the minutes of our last meeting in July. So I have a motion.
I make a motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now we may proceed with the chair's report for the September meeting.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We want to share a little bit of information about our progress on Next Generation NYCHA. We'll continue to do this at every meeting, providing in-depth updates on specific strategies of the plan. This past month, we began the engagement around our development activities in 2 communities where we will launch the Next Generation Neighborhoods program. So we'd love to provide folks a little bit more information about that. As you know, our Next Generation NYCHA plan has 15 strategies. This was not the kitchen sink plan. These were very specific strategic strategies. Of those strategies, 3 included development. Within the development strategy, there are a couple of different lanes, shall we say. The first is our 100% affordable program, which we launched last summer in 3 communities. As you recall, Millbrook, Ingersoll, and the Van Dyke developments, where we will be building in partnership with the development community, nonprofit, for-profit communities, 100% affordable housing. Actually today, we expect to receive the solicitation responses from the development community. By the end of today, we'll have a sense of how many people responded, and thus begins the deliberation process in concert with our partners at HPD. Earlier this month, we launched the engagement in the 50/50 program, which is our commitment to support the creation of an additional affordable housing units as well as market rate units. The goal of this program is twofold. One, the creation of additional affordable housing, as well as the creation of revenues for the authority to address capital needs at the respective developments as well as authority-wide. We took a number of considerations into account in selecting the 2 communities where we began this outreach, in the Wyckoff community in the Borum Hill neighborhood of downtown Brooklyn, and Holmes development on the Upper East Side. We first looked at the capital needs of the existing development and the likelihood of us actually emergency response, so flood, no. Fire watch.
May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? This is your building fire safety director. The building will be conducting tests of the Class E system at this time. Please disregard any and all alarm signals you may see or hear, unless otherwise instructed, until such time the session is completed. Thank you for your cooperation.
Okay.
May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? This is the building fire safety director. The building will be conducting tests of the Class E system at this time. Please disregard any and all alarm signals you may see or hear, unless otherwise instructed until such time the testing is completed. Thank you for your cooperation.
Okay. Oh my God. I think we're done. Everyone got that? All right. We're going to ignore the message until they tell us not to. Okay. So we, again, just as a reminder, good morning. We looked at a number of different considerations in selecting these sites. One was, again, the capital needs of the development and the likelihood of us actually funding those capital needs in our capital plan. We all know that our federal capital plan or federal capital allocation is not sufficient to address the more than $17 billion capital need that we have throughout our portfolio. So that was sort of one consideration. The second consideration was the development opportunity, both the site, physical site characteristics as well as the surrounding market to support and generate revenues for the authority. The third was proximity to public investment. For example, at Wyckoff, we are just, I believe, to the east, getting ready to invest over $100 million in FEMA funds in the Gowanus development, as well as there are a number of other public investments happening in the neighborhood. So again, sort of speaking to our mission and vision around sort of connectivity. We're not just building buildings, actually reconnecting our developments to surrounding neighborhoods. And then the fourth was partnership opportunities, the ability to leverage and or connect partnership opportunities, whether that be through federally qualified health centers, healthy food initiatives, choice neighborhood initiatives, et cetera. And then certainly not last, but very important, the opportunity to generate sufficient resources to the authority. So those were all of the different types of considerations we looked at in selecting these two sites. This just gives you an overview, and again, all this material will be available on our website following our meetings. The capital needs of the development. So for example, at Holmes, you can see that of the $46 million capital need there, approximately $20 million of that are kitchens and baths, right? So you have an opportunity to see the types of capital needs at these developments and how we could potentially fund them via the new development that could occur on site. We have identified the potential development sites in these two developments. This will be sort of part of the discussion with the residents and surrounding community as we move forward. Lots have been written about the plan. There is no plan other than to begin a process of engagement. Really, in terms of the principles that guide that process, transparency, ongoing over-communication. As we've talked about, this administration's made a commitment to building more affordable housing. Within this program, we are targeting the 50% affordable units at 60% area median income, which is about $46,000 for a family of three. That's a minimum. If we were to get additional resources in the form of other federal resources, we could even go lower. Another key principle guiding this, the mayor has been very clear about public assets remaining in public ownership. So we're talking about ground leasing these as opposed to selling any development sites. We're talking about full integration of the low-income or affordable units and the market rate. So no corridors, no burns or other types of barriers that might physically separate the potential new development from our residents. And again, revenues that would be generated would be used to cover a significant portion of the capital needs at the development as well as NYCHA broadly. Many folks have asked, well, how much do you expect to get from each of these developments? The reality is this is going to be a competitive process. We're not going to negotiate against ourselves. We're going to wait to see what the market responds to when those solicitations return back to us. We expect over the next 4 months to continue our engagement process. We started the process with phone calls to all of the residents, letters from me to all of the residents, then a series of small tabletop conversations with residents, with community leaders, with elected officials. This week we started a series of lobby meetings or stair hall meetings where anyone who was walking into the building, we wanted to make sure that they understood and had the opportunity to know about upcoming meetings and understand the process that as it moves forward. Next week, there will be a series of larger community stakeholder meetings, and we'll continue that kind of development throughout the rest of the year. Similar to the engagement process that we did at the 3 sites last summer. All of this feedback will be compiled into a community vision document, which will serve to inform the solicitations that we would expect to release early next year. So just wanted to give folks a update on what that engagement process looks like. This is a terrible slide. You can't actually read it, so we'll make sure you get copies of what this says. Basically just giving folks a sense of the meetings that have happened to date and future meetings that are planned. So there will be, a lot talked about. There will be a lot written and talked about this process. I think, again, the principles here are ongoing and often communication with residents, really trying to also establish a fact base about what this is. This isn't about pushing our residents out. This is about an aggressive form of preservation. We must do some of these things in order to ensure that we are around for another generation. I'm happy to answer any questions from the board.
I was interested in the federally qualified health center partnerships that you mentioned. Do they have federally qualified health centers at homes or Wyckoff?
Neither one of those sites have those.
No, I didn't think
Not yet, but the opportunity, and we certainly heard this from our process from last summer, that's something that residents are really interested in. So there are nearby FQHCs, and that could be something that comes out of the engagement process with residents as something that they would like to see here.
And the other thing is with the board members, when you have these meetings with the residents, will you please let us know when those meetings are so we have the option of attending?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Other questions? Great. And with that concludes my report. I'll turn it over to the GM.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
To the board, to the public, this represents the General Manager's report for the board meeting today. I'd like to talk about a couple of things today. One is an update on our operational initiatives and around our OPMOM project, the Optimal Property Management Operating Model, and specifically talking about one of the initiatives within that, which is our balanced scorecard. And second, I'd like to give you an update on one of the next generation NYCHA operational initiatives, which is Fix It Forward. Two initiatives within that are the My NYCHA app and the real-time repair. So as you know, in January of this year, the local property managers at 18 pilot developments were given the task of supporting their buildings and the management of their buildings by building budgets and determining staffing needs with the goals of decreasing maintenance time frames and improving customer service. And these 18 sites are scattered across Brooklyn, the Bronx, and Manhattan. It's a project. It's a program that we're now finding some good lessons that we're looking to take to scale soon. And today I'd like to announce the latest member of the NYCHA family, effective September 28th. Janet Abrams has been appointed as the new Vice President of Operations overseeing OPMOM. Janet, who's here, please, Janet, please stand. Janet most recently was the Chief Operating Officer at the Newark Housing Authority, where she oversaw all of operations at the Newark Housing Authority, very large, very complex authority that's gone through amazing work in terms of its revitalization efforts. And prior to that, and when I first met Janet, she was served as the Assistant Director of Operations at the Chicago Housing Authority, where she was also in charge of day-to-day operations for, I guess it's the second largest housing authority in the country, third largest housing authority in the country. Prior to that, and most apropos to her recent assignment, is that she served in a variety of capacities in the private development corporation world, the private property management world. So she takes this private sector appreciation of property management and revitalization and brings it to our important OPMOM projects. So it's a great team member and a great contribution to the NYCHA family. Welcome. Within our model, one of the activities that was developed was a balanced scorecard. It was done with the work of research, information technology, and folks from operations to provide a view of the management performance in 4 key areas: the financial, internal business processes, the customer service, and the learning and growth perspective. Why it's balanced, by the way, is that you look at things like safety, rent collection, work orders, that there's a relationship between all these. We found all these things. If you're not doing a very good job of safety, then you're not going to be doing a good job of work orders. If you're not doing a good job of work orders, you're not going to be doing a good job with rent collection. So balance is really what we're looking at, and that's what this scorecard is trying to achieve. Since February, the scores have been used to monitor the progress during the monthly review meetings for regional property managers. So the scorecard is used as a training tool and a tool to look at where we can improve our operations compared from site to site. We have begun to see promising results in the management of the work orders and department prep time. Specifically, service levels for maintenance work orders reduced from 21.5 days in January to 7.5 days in August. Emergency service levels remain under the 24-hour target. Apartment turnaround time decreased by 87% from 89.8 days in January to 48 days in August. And apartment prep time also decreased by 62% from 48.5 days in January to 29.9 days in August. There is still, in terms of balance, these are the good indicators. We still have a long way to go. And the whole point is that we're now being able to track and manage our activities using this valuable scorecard method. I will be looking to continue to share with the board our continued progress toward Optimum. And the understanding is that if there's any really good ideas that bubble out of this pilot project, we're not going to wait for the pilot project to be complete before implementing it agency-wide. We'll be taking to scale any of the good ideas as we flesh them out and we feel it's important. Along the same lines, Fix It Forward was a next initiative in which we looked at becoming more customer focused and to operate more like a private sector property manager. And a couple of initiatives within that are to look at developing a system in which our clients, the residents, will be able to access service needs systems in a more transparent and a more real-time manner. In that regard, we created the NYCHA app. With this mobile app, NYCHA public housing residents are able to request repairs, schedule repairs, cancel repairs, view building alerts and outages, view scheduled apartment inspections, subscribe to email notifications for work ticket updates and outages, and to provide feedback. And so, as we speak right now, our residents are able to get on their mobile telephones and access the same systems that you would have if you were to call into our CCC. So it went live in September. As a result, just in this very short time, over 4,600 downloads were completed. 3,744 unique user logins were logged. 3,400 updates to subscriptions. 3,300 work tickets were created. 2,600 tickets have been scheduled by the residents, and 2,100 tickets have been closed. So this is something that's we're finding out is an incredible tool, not only to provide service to the residents to be able to cancel and to create work order tickets, but also in the world of connectivity, we're finding that this tool is a great way for NYCHA to have an electronic, have the emails and the ability to give alerts and messages to residents through this process as well. So the byproduct of this isn't just a really great way of residents being able to access the system for maintenance, repairs, etc., but it's a great way for us to develop some two-way messaging tools. The other report that I'd like to give a quick update on is on our real-time repairs. And the backdrop of this is that NYCHA, up until very recently, would go through an apartment to do an inspection, do the inspection, and then tell the resident that we'll be back in a week or two to actually start to do the work. Well, that meant that the resident would have to be there a second time, and that we found that by approaching it in which we come with actually carts and bags filled with materials that repairs can be done while the inspection unit is there, we're finding it's more convenient for the resident, decreases the service time levels and increases the whole customer service satisfaction. So again, the goals are to increase customer satisfaction by performing repairs at the same time as inspection, to reduce the backlog of maintenance work tickets, to reduce the tenant not at home for repairs, and to implement business processes and system changes. So where we're at right now is that we're on phase 3 of a multi-phase implementation program where we add another 15 developments. So we have 52 developments that this system now is in place. We're looking to have all of the developments in place by the first quarter of 2016. And currently, as a result, the latest update is that we've looked at 2,900 apartments have been inspected, and that 5,400 simple repairs have been completed. What this really means is that there's 5,400 work orders that were done in real time that do not need to be rescheduled and folks to be come back at. We think that this is going to be has already had an impact on our service levels, but will have a dramatic impact once we get fully populated and once we get fully rolling on this initiative. On that, Chair, the board completes the report of the General Manager. Thank you.
I have a comment. On the outbound, first of all, I want to thank the chair, yourself, and the team that you put together to have that initial meeting with the, or at least partially the leaders of those particular developments in the outbound program, as well as the other people that were there. I'm certainly going to be talking to Ms. Abrahams as we move along. I don't know how you're going to present the updates, you know, the scorecards and everything else to the board, but personally, when you do that, I would like for the development leaders, just like we did the last month, I want to meet with them as well, so that we can get an idea of how we're both working together to move forward towards a positive goal.
Fantastic.
So if you were just giving us an update is one thing, but I prefer to be along with the team and the residents to actually get a better bearing on what's going on.
Well, I'd like to go ahead, as we did in the past, extend an invitation to be at the next TA and property manager meeting
Yes.
we'll be having shortly, so that Janet can actually meet her full team. We're going to be having meetings with just the management, her and just the management in the next couple of days, but within the next 30 days, we'll be having yet a follow-up meeting to the meeting where we have both the managers and the tenant leaders, and we will extend the invite.
Thank you.
I'd just like to add on, I'm very happy that we are coming down with the time thing, because like you say, it saves money and time when they can do all the repairs that's in an apartment, rather than having to schedule another appointment, and then they have to come back. So that's a real factor. But when we had the Optimum meeting here during the summer, some of the developments still hadn't gotten their budgets. So are they up to par now with the budgets where they can do what they need to do?
Well, actually, I think that there was some confusion. Budgets were delivered. It was the understanding of what they could do with it.
Oh, okay.
But I think now that Janet's here, we're going to fix all that.
Okay.
Comments? You said two things. You mentioned a scorecard for OpMom, and then you mentioned customer service. My question to you is, have you done a customer satisfaction service survey with the residents and then included that in your scorecard?
Great question. Yes, the answer is it is embedded in the scorecard. A very important component of the scorecard is customer service and looking at having our customers rate and rank our service delivery. That has gone through a focus group of residents right now, and but we'll be looking to, that's one component that is still yet to be fully fleshed out, but we'll be doing that very shortly. We were really literally waiting for the resident customer review and focus to be complete, and I think that's just about done now.
Okay.
The one thing I would like to ask is that at our next meeting, if not perhaps towards the end of the year, we actually have the scorecard so we can see it, right? And folks can see the red, yellow, green, sort of, and where we are in the various indicators, and begin to get some point-in-time comparisons, and give Janet a couple of days to get situated before we start being too harsh. But I think that would be useful for folks to begin to get familiar with what that scorecard looks like, because we'll be using it often.
Okay.
Madam Chair, we may proceed now with the calendar of items for today. Item number 1.
Good morning. Richard Couch, Chief Financial Officer. Presenting items number 1 and 2. Item number 1, we're requesting authorization for the approval of investment transactions that were performed by the authority's Treasury Department for the quarter ended June 30th, 2015. These transactions were performed in accordance with U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Office of Public and Indian Housing Notice, PIH 2002-13. The report outlines the authority's cash and investment position and provides a brief overview of operational changes and cash flow affecting the change in investments, and provides a current and historical rates of return on authority investments as a measure of investment performance. We closed out the second quarter with a net portfolio increase of $82,854,760 from the prior quarter. The executive summary portion of the report outlines the major categories of cash flow affecting the changes in investments during this quarter. We thus ended the quarter with an investment portfolio of $1,417,183,189, excluding fiscal agent investments. During the second quarter, the authority earned $1,620,588, and overall, our rate of return of 48 basis in the second quarter exceeded a comparable benchmark 3-month Treasury bill return of 1 basis points, as well as a 12-month Treasury bill portfolio return of 22 basis points. And for the last 12-month period, interest earned on investments totaled $7,333,685, a return of 60 basis points, which exceeded a comparable return on a 3-month Treasury bill return by 58 basis points, and exceeded the 12-month Treasury bill return by 48 basis points. Thank you.
Questions? I just have questions. In terms, you said the last, the T-bill, it exceeded comparable investments. Is that an annual comp that you're
Yeah, so
citing?
we compare it to both a 3-month Treasury bill return as well as a 12-month, and we exceeded both of those measures.
Ours or industry?
The Housing Authority.
The Housing Authority. Okay.
NYCHA's investment return exceeded the 3-month and the 12-month rate of returns for the Treasury bills. We have a, primarily fixed income securities, so that's the best metric to compare it against. Item number 2, I'm requesting authorization to award the authority's property and terrorism insurance policies to provide $425 million of property insurance, subject to a $7.5 million per occurrence deductible for named storm and flood, a $1 million deductible for all other perils, and through a separate placement, $100 million of terrorism insurance, subject to a $100,000 deductible. The total annual property and terrorism insurance program premium is $11,218,722, and it is effective October 30th, 2015, continuing to October 30th, 2016. The authority's property and terrorism insurance premium for the recommended program will be decreasing by $1,799,071, or a 13.82% versus the expiring premium. In addition, the recommended program will reduce the named storm and flood deductible from $10 million to $7.5 million per occurrence. With that, I request your approval to award the renewal property insurance program as described.
I just think that the calendar needs to reflect, you said October 30th, 2015 through October 30th, 2016. Did you mean 29th or 30th?
I meant 30th.
Okay, so we should update the calendar to reflect that. Okay, thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Anne Marie Flatley. I'm the Vice President for Research Management Analysis. For item number 3, I'm here to seek authorization to submit the significant amendment to the fiscal year 2015 annual PHA plan and the 5-year PHA plan for fiscal years 2015 to 2019, as well as the PHA certifications of compliance with the PHA plans and related regulations to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development in accordance with Section 511 of the Quality Housing and Work Responsibility Act of 1998. On June 26, 2015, NYCHA released a significant amendment to the fiscal year 2015 annual plan and 5-year plan for public review because it was a successful applicant in the Rental Assistance Demonstration Pilot Program for the Ocean Bay Bayside Apartments developments in Queens. As a result, NYCHA will be converting public housing subsidies to project-based vouchers at Ocean Bay Bayside under the guidelines of PIH Notice 2012-32. The amendment, board resolution, and signed certification will be hand-delivered to HUD's field office.
Question?
I did have a question.
Sure.
I did attend the meeting out at Ocean Bay, and my question was, Donovan Richards, who was the city councilman at that time, was wavering.
Okay.
He wasn't in support of it, he was not against it. Have you seen if he has given his support to this project?
So I did check with the Department for Development. City Councilman Donovan is still engaged, very much engaged with the resident engagement process out at Ocean Bay. I can't say specifically that he said, yes, I'm in support of it. I think he's waiting to see, the full details of how RAD will work for Ocean Bay before he says officially, I'm in support of it. We're still doing the resident engagement and working through the policies on it.
So we're still in the process of we're not there yet.
Not there specifically for...
We're not there yet in terms of turning over Ocean Bay to Section 8 housing. It's a process, that's what I'm saying.
Absolutely. So this significant amendment is one of the first part of the process. So this is just getting it into our annual plan and the 5-year plan. There will be a separate submission to HUD for RAD at Ocean Bay, which has more of the details on it. And I believe that's what City Councilman Donovan is waiting for.
There's a very extensive process that HUD requires, and that we will do. That includes not only resident engagement, but there will need to be a competitive process for an actual developer. There will be financing that needs to be sought from the city and or state or whatever sources. So we're just at the beginning of that process.
Right.
And just given the timing of our amendment, needed to make sure that we amended the plan to be in compliance.
Right, so we needed to do the amendment first before we can do that,
Right.
that final plan for RAD with the developer.
What does the timeline look like from here? I mean, you can make a projection. What does the timeline look like?
I believe that's for the Department for Development.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just involved with this part.
Okay.
It's so.
Yeah, so we're just starting. We've talked to staff, are working really closely with HUD and all of the stakeholders. We are aggressively. We'd love to be able to push this to close by the end of this fiscal year. So the city's fiscal year, June of next year. But we're right at the beginning, so we're just starting.
Okay, all right.
Just one comment, and as always, the board will be, shall we say, the process as it moves along will be alerted as to when this timeline will close and have better detail on the
Right.
RAD.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So, can I go to item number 4?
Yes.
Okay. This resolution seeks authorization to submit the authority's fiscal year 2016 annual PHA plan and the PHA certifications of compliance with the PHA plans and related regulations to HUD in accordance with Section 511 of the Quality Housing and Work Responsibility Act of 1998. The annual PHA plan provides details about the authority's current programs and resident populations served, as well as NYCHA's strategy for addressing the housing needs of the currently assisted families and the larger community. The plan, board resolution, and signed certification will be hand-delivered to HUD's field office by the October 19th due date.
Questions? Okay. Thank you.
Good morning,
morning.
Board Chair and GM. Kathy Pennington, Executive Vice President for Leased Housing. And I am requesting authorization to amend the authority's Section 8 Administrative Plan. HUD regulations require that the Section 8 program review annually the policies that guide administration of the program. And so we go out for review once a year, and then we update the administrative plan to reflect changes in law, HUD regulations, or policies. This year there are noted a few changes, primarily required by HUD in utility allowances, housing quality standards, project-based vouchers, and information's being added to the plan about our family self-sufficiency program. So your approval is requested.
Just a comment. Thank you on breaking down the various programs for me.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item number 6.
Hi, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
My name is Brian Clark. I'm the Senior Vice President of Operations for Property Management, and I'll be presenting items 6 through 11 this morning. What I'd like to do is to group items 6, 7, 8, and 9 together because it's really the
same
same
thing.
underlying issue, and then I can go through each of those items, and then I'll speak to the last 2 items. So the items 6, 7, 8, and 9 are to make contract modifications to our contracts with real estate management firms that manage a small number of our properties that are in the Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, and Queens. Back in 2013, the Housing Authority made changes to the contracts and issued new contracts, did a competitive bidding to them. And these modifications are to take into consideration the changes that are in that contract that cause us to have to increase the contract amount. We have the budget to support these changes. However, we need to modify the contract to increase the contract threshold to be able to pay for services through the end of these contracts. There's really 4 reasons for the increase. One is the new contracts allow for increases due to prevailing wage. The old contracts, did not. These contracts have a new structure for paying the management fee. In the past, it was based upon occupied units. Now it's on a % of revenue collected. There's also incentives in the contracts, as well as normal business. There's extraordinary expenses as well that weren't considered as part of normal break-fix maintenance. So, for example, if we had to do comprehensive repairs to a boiler or do emergency excavations to replace underground infrastructure, such as domestic water lines or steam lines. Okay, so those are the reasons for the increases. So item 6, where this contract is with Building Management Associates, we are asking to increase the contract amount by $440,433.45. So we are requesting authorization to amend this agreement with Building Management Associates for private management services authorized by Board Resolution 13-1/30-10 for an initial 3-year term with either a 1-year or 1 2-year renewal option to increase the not-to-exceed amount in order to fund the continued provision of services during the remainder of the initial 3-year term, which commenced on April 1st, 2013, and is continuing through March 31st, 2016.
You done?
Yes? Yes, Commissioner.
All right. 6, I don't have a problem with. 7, 8, and 9, I would like to have the opportunity to speak to some of the residents at those various locations where Kraus Management is the governing body. So with 6, I don't have a problem, but 7, 8, and 9, I do.
Okay. So, Commissioner, I'm aware of your concerns with Kraus's performance,
Yes.
and we'll set up meetings with the TAs in those areas, or residents in those areas, so that you can meet with them.
Please,
Okay.
thank you.
So I'll move to item 7. So this contract is with Kraus Management, and we are looking to increase the contract threshold by $1,047,287.78. Authorization is requested to amend this agreement with Kraus Management Incorporated for private management services authorized by Board Resolution 13-1/30-11 for initial 3-year term with either a 1-year or 1 2-year renewal option to increase the not-to-exceed amount in order to fund the continued provisions of services during the remainder of the initial 3-year term, which commenced on April 1st, 2013, and is continuing through March 31st, 2016. Item 8 is also with Kraus Management. We are looking to modify the contract to increase it by the contract threshold by $640,000. Authorization is requested to amend this agreement with Kraus Management for private management services authorized by Board Resolution 13-1/30-13 for an initial 3-year term with either a one-year or 2-year renewal option to increase the not-to-exceed amount in order to fund the continued provision of services during the remainder of the initial 3-year term, which commenced on April 1st, 2013, and is continuing through March 31st, 2016. And item 9, this contract is also with Kraus Management. It's for Forest Hills Co-op, and we are looking to modify the contract threshold, increase it by $214,818. Authorization is requested to amend this agreement with Kraus Management Incorporated for private management services authorized by Board Resolution 13-11/20-2 for an initial 2-year term with one-year renewal option to increase the not-to-exceed the amount in order to fund the continued provision of services during the remainder of the initial 2-year term, which commenced on December 1st, 2013, and is continuing through November 30th, 2015.
Brian, at the end of their respective contracts, do we have the opportunity to bid this work out again competitively?
Yes, we plan to do that.
We plan to do that, right?
Yes,
So
we do.
This is just an extension for this year to accommodate those
Yeah,
4 items, and then we'll,
Yeah. I would just caveat, one of these contracts is with Forest Hills Co-op, so we may
Right.
be back to the board
Slightly,
shortly
right.
for possibly an extension. Okay, but the other contracts, we are looking to put out new RFPs, revise the requirements based on lessons learned through these contracts,
Okay.
and then put them out to bid and
Great.
move forward. Okay.
Do you happen to know how many units are involved with these?
Yeah,
sites?
so the grand total of 2,553 units. That's that are in our actual portfolio that are managed by private real estate companies. One contract isn't in this group because we actually had enough contract capacity in that contract. So if you took out 414 units, you're right around 2,100 units that are in these 4 items.
Thank you.
I have a question, Brian. It has to do with incentives. You've said that one of the reasons why we have to amend the agreement is because you're giving incentives to the management group
Correct.
because of the rent collections.
Correct.
They have a high rate of return in rent collections. I'm curious because with our regular day-to-day managers, not the private ones, we are pushing them to increase rents.
Yes.
Do we have incentives built in?
Rent collection, not
Rent collection.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do we have incentives built? Do we have similar incentives to encourage them to bring in high rates of return?
Funny you should mention that. We are actually having conversations with, the property management directors put together some incentives for consideration. I'm going to present them to the general manager and chair. They'll take a look at them, and we're looking to create some incentives for folks around things like rent collection, improved FOS scores, and other items. Wouldn't be monetary.
Right.
We're more looking at maybe possibly excused time.
And this conversation obviously happens in lockstep with our union colleagues, right? Because everything
Yes.
is within the context of the existing collective bargaining agreements. And so
Okay.
that is oftentimes an important
Yeah, thank you for
component to
clarifying
remember.
that.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I just like the incentives. That word sounded kind of catchy.
Me too. Okay. All right, so item 10. So this contract is with Center for Employment Opportunities. So with this program, we've had a long-standing relationship. What they do is they provide us with additional labor for helping us maintain our grounds and with the debris removal, moving trash, et cetera, physical labor work. The Center for Employment Opportunities uses parolees, nonviolent folks.
Offenders.
Yep, that did some time and are now paroled, and this is a way for them to transition into employment. We've been using this contract for a number of years. We were requesting to increase this contract. The reason why is that we are using these folks to help us at those locations where we took garbage hoists out of service, and to help with the additional labor that's required there. There, we're moving actually garbage out of basements 2 stories down. Okay. So when we're looking to increase the contract by $596,698.95. So authorization is requested to amend this agreement with Center for Employment Opportunities Incorporated for work crews to perform various maintenance and janitorial tasks authorized by Board Resolution 12-11/21-5 for initial 3-year term with 2 1-year renewal options, to increase the not-to-exceed amount in order to fund the continued provision of services for the remainder of the initial 3-year term, which commenced on March 18th, 2013, and is continuing through March 17th, 2016. Yes.
I did look up the Center for Employment Opportunities on the website, and I like what they do with prisoners who come home and they need training in areas like construction, and that rehabilitates them. A lot of those trainees, residents from public housing,
Oh,
or
I don't.
just throughout the city in general.
I think there are I could check to see how many are public housing residents. We'll check that, but I think in general they're from around the city, not necessarily public housing residents. We do have the reentry program. That's we're over 1 year in. I think we're getting ready to graduate. I think one of our first enrollees in that program.
Yeah, they do the reentry and come back into the development, but if they don't have jobs to sustain them, they're going to be recidivism right back into the system again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we think our work with these folks is
It's
positive.
a good thing.
Yep.
So the Center for Employment Opportunities, is that a not-for-profit or is that a for-profit? No.
I don't know
Not-profit.
offhand. Is it not?
Not-profit.
Okay. Okay, so item 11, this is, once again, we are looking to modify, our contract here and increase the contract threshold amount. Within the provisions of this contract, we have the option of increasing it by 50%, keeping the same rates in that contract. We want to do that here, and we want to increase it by $526,311.49. This is a requirement contract. We use it as needed to repair our intercom systems. So if we can't make the simple repair with our staff, we then bring in these folks to help repair the panels and the intercoms. Okay.
I didn't know if you were done.
Let me read this, and then we'll take care of it, Commissioner. Okay, authorization is requested to approve an increase in the not-to-exceed amount of this requirement contract with American Security Systems, Inc. for service of intercom systems by 50% as permitted by the original requirement contract, which was authorized by Board Resolution 13-6/5-7 for initial 2-year term with one-year renewal option in order to fund the continued provision of services during the remainder of the initial 2-year term, which commenced on February 25th, 2014, and is continuing through February 24th, 2016. Yes, Commissioner.
I'm all for it. It's not just a little observation. I'd like to keep some dialogue going regarding the concern that I have with how it's going to be implemented and if there's a charge or no charge.
Okay. So if I could just add a little more color to that issue, we basically have 3 types of intercom systems. So one, we have a system which we call hardwired, which means you have a panel and you have dedicated infrastructure. So actually have cable that goes from the panel up to each individual apartment unit, and you typically have a panel on the wall. So that's a standalone intercom system. Then we have the vast majority of our systems are actually the one I'm going to describe now, which is what we do is we integrate with the existing phone infrastructure. So the copper wires. This was a real plus back in the early 1990s. Saved us a lot of money. It's cutting edge technology. Now it's outdated and is actually a problem for us in maintaining these. And what they do is they use the existing Verizon phone lines that go up to the apartment units, and as I said, most of our systems are like this. But if there's a problem with the phone, there's an awful lot of troubleshooting, and then also the phone lines aren't being supported by Verizon moving forward. They're putting in FiOS systems. So but these requirement contracts help us there. With our new intercom systems, and I believe this is the issue that you're talking about, Commissioner, is that we have what are called direct dial systems. So the actual intercom will call out to a phone, whether it's a landline or a cell phone. It'll be programmed to that. So the question is what about our tenants, our residents that don't have cell phones because they need a phone in order for it to work? And there are actually no charge phones that are available for low income residents. That's the program which I'm going to provide you with some information. I'll sit down and explain it to you a little bit more, regarding that. But there are phones out there available for folks to use.
So I understand the programs that you're speaking about currently, but not every development yet will have the new systems
Correct.
in place.
Correct.
So what does a resident do now that has the old system?
Okay.
Hence, what I'm leaning
Gotcha.
to is the dummy phone.
Yep. So the dummy phone is, these contracts actually supply dummy phones. So if for whatever reason, that does not have phone service, to their apartment, we install what we call dummy phones, and these are phones that are dedicated to the phone infrastructure. We install them through this contract. So periodically we put information in the journal, regarding this. Sounds like we're ripe for doing that again, to put it out there and let folks know that this is the option for when you don't have, landline, service at your apartment.
Okay.
Brian,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, just explain to me, so this is one of the big issues that residents complain about, that their intercoms don't work. So is this company, do they service when there is an identified problem, or do our staff?
So
do it?
the first response would be for our staff to investigate.
Okay.
So if we go there and we see that there's a panel, if it's something simple, like it's power to the panel, something like that, we can make that repair. But if there is a problem within the panel or with the integration with phone lines, we need a vendor come in, and that's this vendor.
And to the extent that Verizon or whatever the cable company is, what's our interface with them? Because that's often a challenge as well, right? That is a challenge.
For example, the developments that were impacted by Sandy, where they weren't going to replace the copper lines and we're putting in the Verizon phone, and where you need a different piece of technology. So we worked with them on that. The cable companies can provide, an integration device for working with the intercom. So we've worked with them on that. Usually the issues related to this, we don't have to necessarily bring them into it. But when we do, we've had mixed results. So for example, we've had times when we typically have to escalate it through our contacts with IT because we have contracts with Verizon, and so we use that to leverage it where we're not getting a quick response for Verizon.
I guess
From Verizon.
On this is a major issue, I think, in terms of quality of life for residents, and if it's with our staff, then maybe our staff need to be retrained, but if it's with this vendor, I'd like to understand a little, I'd like to sort of limit their contract and maybe have an opportunity to bid out and to find another vendor if that's the issue, because the more often than not I hear about, we got these new intercoms, they don't work, they're not integrated, there was a big hoopla to sort of get it installed, and then they don't work.
Okay.
So if this is just to allow us to get through the next year, I think that's important. It would be great, I think, for us to think about broadening.
Yeah. So I think the some of the complaints that we're hearing was with some of the newer technology. Mm-hmm. This contract here is really to address pretty much the older technology issue that we have out there. Mm-hmm. We actually have a contract that'll probably be, I have to see whether or not it meets the contract threshold, maybe be coming to the board soon to support the newer systems that we have going on, that are installed.
The layered access.
Layered access, because they are actually we believe in the system, but there is a higher level of skill and technology that is required in order to make the repairs, because they are complicated systems.
And is there a plan, well, I guess I know the answer to this question, just in terms of our sort of migrating from this older system to layered access, that's all sort of dependent on city council funding.
Absolutely.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Last thing.
Okay.
So
Hope
in going with next next gen, right? So will these repairs fall under Fix It Forward?
Oh, this type of rapid repairs. Well, these interesting question. So if while we're in a unit, we're doing an inspection, and we're told by the that's a good question whether or not like for example they need a dummy phone. We wouldn't know that unless they tell us that. So that's so I think that's a good takeaway for us. But if we do have knowledge of it, we would create the work order there, and if possible, make the repair. Otherwise, then we would create a work order for a vendor, but we would create it certainly during the inspection.
Because I would hate for them to be without an intercom for whatever length.
But I think that's thank you.
Okay.
Well, excuse me, I just want to say, because you, as the chair said, you do have this problem in quite a few developments, and I know this year that what you're doing with this vendor is only going to affect Staten Island.
Yeah, this contract is strictly for Bronx, Staten Island. We do have other contracts that support the balance of our portfolio throughout the other boroughs.
So are they going to be using those? Because right now, as the chair said, you have a lot of complaints with the intercoms, and they're not working.
Yep.
So right now you have a contract, some with Fios, with Verizon, and some with the cable. And that also can be a problem also, unless they put the dummy phone in.
Yeah. So with the newer technology, the Fios, we do need a piece of technology and interface that the cable provider provides, for us on that end. So it sounds, the feedback that I'm getting here is looks like we need an upcoming journal to put information out there regarding to our tenants. So once again, putting information about how to get these things repaired and the different systems that we have out there. But we do have, this particular contract is for a contractor to help us make repairs, and we do have contracts to support the balance of our portfolio throughout the city.
I just want to be, last thing. I just want to be clear on this, is that the 1-year renewal, so there's an extension from February 25th through next year, the 2016, and there's an option for a renewal at that point? Is that what this says? Okay.
Yeah, so
option meaning come back to the board for approval, or option?
Come back. We would. So for us to, that's an interesting question, because we're not coming back for dollar authorization. It would be coming back to extend the contract.
Right.
I don't believe that requires coming back to the board.
Okay.
So we would do that.
So you would still have contract capacity, but if you needed additional capacity, you would come back.
I would have to come back to the board. Okay. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Louis Ponce, Senior Vice President of Operations for Support Services. Item number 12 seeks authorization to enter into a requirement contract that provides for heat and hot water welding repairs for various developments in Brooklyn. New York Boiler is the sole responsive and responsible bidder for this contract. New York Boiler shall provide all necessary supervision, materials, scaffolding, and equipment to perform boiler repairs and hot water tank repairs. It is a 2-year requirement contract with a 1-year renewal option to be exercised at the authority's sole discretion. The amount of this contract shall not exceed $1,902,862.60. New York Boiler is qualified to perform this type of work. They have successfully completed approximately $7.7 million worth of this type of services for the authority over the past 5 years. Respectfully request authorization to enter into this contract.
Questions?
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Melanie Hart, Executive Vice President of Community Programs and Development. I'm presenting item number 13 to request authorization for change order to a requirement contract awarded to Marymount Corporation for the Child and Adult Care Food Program. This authorization will allow us to continue funding through the remainder of this year and to exercise the second renewal option for next year going through October 31st, 2015. The Marymount provides nutritional meals for the Child and Adult Care Food Program and after-school programs in 105 licensed community facilities and teen programs at 80 of those locations throughout the 5 boroughs. Essentially, this program, we're reimbursed by USDA to fund this program. It covers the cost of meals as well as administrative costs. The reason we're asking for this extension is with the closure of the community centers in 2014 and the reopening by DYCD, it increased the meal capacity at those centers. As we looked at what we were tracking the finances for this year, we realized that we were going to run out of money for the remainder of this year, and we need to increase the amount for next year to be able to continue those meals. As a courtesy to DYCD and to ensure that the center stayed in compliance, what we did was we said that we would continue this year and give DYCD the opportunity to bid this contract for themselves. We could not simply transfer it over to DYCD, and they needed to continue the meals for the remainder of this year and going into next year. So following next year, we expect that DYCD will be entering into their own contract to provide meals at the community centers for youth.
And will we be reimbursed for this increase?
Yes.
From USAID?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Chiva Harudnu Channel, Director of General Services. I'm requesting board approval to exercise the first one-year renewal option of the contract with Automobile Rentals Incorporated, ARI, at the cost of $3,300,000, commencing on December 1st, 2015, and continuing through November 30, 2016. In terms of background, in October 2013, NYCHA board approved a resolution to enter into a 3-year agreement with ARI, and that resolution also included approval for 2 one-year renewal options at NYCHA's discretion. ARI provides maintenance and repair services to NYCHA's on-road fleet of 874 vehicles, which includes sedans, vans, sports utility vehicles, pickup trucks, other utility vehicles, which primarily serve the developments and other operations departments such as emergency services, maintenance, repair, and skilled trades, technical services, and other NYCHA departments. Their performance and the service that they have provided us has been satisfactory, and therefore I'm requesting approval to exercise the first renewal for this year, starting December 2015, at the cost of $3,300,000. Thank you.
Questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Bob Morano, NYCHA's Chief Information Officer. Board Item 15 is requesting authorization to amend an agreement with Trigent Technologies Incorporated. Trigent is one of 5 temporary worker contracts that were authorized by the Board in 2013. We are not requesting an overall increase in the total amount of the 5 contracts in the original Board item, but we are requesting to reallocate funding from an underutilized contract with Trailblazers to Trigent in the amount of $1.6 million. We are requesting this because Trigent continues to supply quality temp workers to NYCHA, while Trailblazers has not been able to do so. Therefore, we're requesting authorization to amend the agreement with Trigent Technologies in the amount of $1.6 million. Yes.
What kinds of responsibilities or duties do the temp workers perform for us? Typically, what do we have them do?
Anything that we need them for, short-term projects. From a technology perspective, they could be database analysts. They could be programmers brought in to do a project on Siebel. We brought them in for CCC to augment the staff in the CCC and other departments within NYCHA.
So is the thought here that it's more cost-effective not to have full-time workers, or as opposed to temps in these kinds of jobs?
In some of these, they're hard-to-find positions that the market is so high for these people that NYCHA cannot afford them on current NYCHA scale. So we have to go to outside to get these people in.
And the reallocation of the contract amount from Trailblazers to Trigent, is Trailblazers still under contract, or are we?
Yes, they are.
Their duties?
Yes, they are, but they're very limited in how they're being used.
Okay. And do we have plans to relieve them of their duties given in the future, or?
Yes, we're reducing their contract amount by that $1.6 million.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Michael Rosen, Acting EVP for Capital Projects and VP for Disaster Recovery. I'll be presenting items 16 through 30. Item number 16, request authorization to reject bids for kitchen upgrades at 572 Warren. The contract provides for the upgrade of the kitchen at the Daltrey Memorial Community Center. The contract bid opening was held on July 30th, 2015. 12 bid packages were distributed. 2 proposals were received. The lowest bidder, Urban Eco Spaces Incorporated, submitted a bid of $499,455, which was 125.5% higher than our cost estimate of $221,487. CPD reviewed the bid proposal and deemed it excessive for this type of work. CPD is reviewing alternative methods to perform this work within budget. And I might add, this is a city council funded project, and the council member has pledged to add additional funding to make up the deficit, the gap when we rebid this. Item number 17, request authorization to reject the sole bid for community center renovation at Betanzas 1. The scope of this contract provides for the renovation of the community center, of the senior center at Betanzas 1, which is sponsored by the Institute for the Puerto Rican Hispanic Elderly. The reason for this rejection is that on July 22nd, 7 bid packages were distributed. 1 proposal was received. The sole bidder, Project I Consultants, submitted a bid of $4,201,136, which was 45% higher than our estimate of $2.8 million. We reviewed the proposal, deemed it excessive for this type of work. We're reviewing alternative methods to deliver this project in the future. This is also a city council funded project.
We communicated with the elected officials with us.
Yes. Item number 18, request authorization to award a contract to Amoresco for energy performance contracting services in the amount of $869,105. This service agreement will provide an investment-grade audit to develop the scope of work for an energy performance contract that NYCHA is undertaking. The audit consists of evaluating existing building systems and structures to determine the energy savings potential to develop the energy performance contract. The terms of this agreement is 1 year. The VNC is pending. We confirmed the references and past work history, which we found satisfactory. Item number 19, request authorization to award a contract for the replacement of condensate lines at Cassidy Lafayette to DVS Mechanical Plumbing in the amount of $5,138,500, which is in line with our estimate of $5,032,963. This contract provides for the demolition and replacement of condensate lines at all 4 buildings. The scope of work includes, but is not limited to replacement of the concrete flooring and additional landscaping. DDS has been in business for over 12 years. They performed 1 project with NYCHA as a prime contractor, valued at $1.4 million, and have done 3 projects as a subcontractor valued at $147,000. Their overall performance has been satisfactory.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 20, request authorization to approve a change order to increase the brick requirement contract given to Sharon Builders. We're requesting an increase in the amount of $7,500,000. This contract was initially let to address emergency facade restoration in all 5 boroughs to correct local law 11 facade conditions. The scope of work included, but was not limited to, brickwork replacement, expansion joints restoration, window sills, lintel replacement, repointing of mortar joints, coping stones, asbestos, and lead abatement, as well as sidewalk sheds and pipe scaffolding installation. We're requesting this increase to address 21 buildings that were declared by the DOB through Local 11 inspections to be unsafe at Sotomayor houses. This increase will address all 21 buildings and will allow us to have the DOB declare these buildings as safe.
What's the timing on the work?
I don't know.
All right, we already have, we have shedding up there already.
Correct.
So the question is sort of what's the additional sort of scope that's going to, and the length of time that those residents are gonna experience shedding?
I'll get that information
That'd
and
be great.
get back to the board.
Thank you.
Item number 21, request authorization to approve a change order at West Brighton 1 and Richmond Terrace houses for exterior restoration and roofing replacement to Lockheed General Contracting. The change order is for the amount of $1,375,327. The original contract amount was $10,427,253. This contract calls for the restoration, exterior restoration and related work due to DOB Local R11 facade conditions at all buildings at West Brighton 1 and Richmond Terrace houses. The work included but was not limited to replacing of roofing, exterior restoration of facade, and asbestos abatement. During construction, it was discovered that additional sealant at the masonry openings had deteriorated and were in need of repairs. This work is needed in order to file these buildings as safe with the DOB. The contract scope will be increased to replace an additional 28,500 linear feet of sealant at masonry openings at West Brighton 1 and 16,500 linear feet at Richmond Terrace. Additional facade repairs will also be performed at West Brighton 1, 600 square feet, and Richmond Terrace, 1,400 square feet. Item number 22, request authorization to approve a change order to Gemco Electric Contractors in the amount of $5,500,000. The original contract included a scope of work for Sandy recovery work at apartments damaged by the storm. The this is a jock contract that included replacement of windows, installation of new flooring, demolition, rebuilt interior apartment walls, fire stop painting, new kitchen cabinets, stoves, refrigerators, etc. We are going to use this contract to do the work at the Red Hook Senior Center. That is a project that has been delayed multiple times due to, in part due to lack of funding. It's a city council funded project. City council committed $1.8 million to the project. That project was competitively bid and came in at $4.8 million, well above our estimate of $2 million. By utilizing this contract, because we found that most of the items, the scope of work in the senior center contract is also in this jock contract at favorable prices. So we examined that, we did a crosswalk, and found that if most of the items could be covered through this jock contract at a better price than was competitively bid. We got a proposal for the items that were not in this jock contract, put them together, came to $3.3 million, which is $1 million less than the competitively bid senior center project. And we were able to augment the funding with FEMA funding that has been approved for Red Hook houses in the amount of $1.5 million to make up the difference, to cover the $3.3 million. And so by using this creative method, we not only saved $1 million, we also are going to be able to begin work in October of this year, in the next few weeks, and complete the project by next summer, so the seniors will be able to move in to that senior center. They were displaced after Sandy and have been sharing space with the children at the Mikio Center.
Good.
Any questions? Item number 23, request to approve a change order to Cordune Construction Corporation at Edenwald Houses. This contract is for the replacement of boilers. The amount of the change order is $59,000. This is to include a gas train that had previously been in the contract. Con Edison had inspected and informed NYCHA that the gas train was not necessary. It was removed from the contract and a credit was taken. Upon their further inspection, they have reversed their decision and said we do need the gas train. So we are putting the gas train back into this contract. And just for your edification,
We're ignoring it.
gas train is this is all just a test, I know. The gas train is the apparatus that feeds the fuel into the burner. Item number 24 is a request to authorization to award a contract for boiler demolition at Red Hook East and West to Cordune Construction Corporation in the amount of $3,484,000. That is below our estimate of $4,200,642. The scope of this contract provides for the demolition of boilers at both Red Hook East and Red Hook West, which are scheduled for new boiler installation under the Sandy Recovery Program. The scope of work includes, but is not limited to, disassembling and removing the existing boiler equipment. Cordune has been in business since 1998, has performed 21 projects at NYCHA as a prime contractor valued at almost $42 million. Their overall performance is satisfactory. And I might add, this is the start of the permanent Sandy restoration work at Red Hook East and West. As you all know, a long time coming, and we're pleased to be starting this work.
That's excellent. I have a sort of weird question, which is, so we're getting ready to demolish a lot of decades-old infrastructure. I presume is there value in any of that material, and if so, how do we determine that? How do we capture it? Is there like a big tag sale? I mean, sort of how does that sort of happen? Reselling?
So typically, I mean, so we've been through most of the basements and have taken out a lot of pieces, parts that are valuable to us. When we bid these contracts, it's included that the contractor will remove the equipment that's in the basement, that's left in the basement, and they can do with it what they want. That's baked into the price.
Okay.
Had we not, if you don't include that, then the price would be higher, because they bake in what they think they can salvage that for.
Okay, so we've turned over the salvage capacity to the contractor.
Correct.
So in this case, the 3.7 million is just to remove, demolish and remove the.
Correct. Now, if something, if there's some ancillary work that has to go on, it's included in this. If a door needs to be widened to take the equipment out, if the stair needs to be replaced, that they have to carry the equipment up, that'll be included. It includes whatever they need to do to get the boilers demoed and removed.
It's a lot of work. We were deluged with Sandy.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where I live.
Yeah, these boiler rooms are massive in size. It's and again, they have to be dismantled in place and then removed. Item number 25 is similar to item number 24. It's a request to authorize contract to Merrick Mechanical for boiler room demolition at various developments in Queens. It'll cover 4 developments in the Rockaways that are going to be receiving new boilers. Merrick has been in operation since 1982. They have performed 24 projects for NYCHA as a prime contractor, valued at $66.6 million, and 5 projects as a subcontractor, valued at $19.2 million. Their overall performance is satisfactory. This, again, is the first permanent Sandy recovery work to take place at the Rockaways, and we request authorization for that contract. Item number 26, request authorization to award a contract to Merrick to Merco Electric Company for the boiler room lighting and power at Red Hook East and West in the amounts of $1,099,500, which is in line with our estimate. This contract provides for new lighting power in the boiler rooms at the two developments in Red Hook East and West, which are scheduled for new boiler installation. The scope of this work includes, but is not limited to, installation of new lighting and equipment panels. MECO is a minority-owned business, has been in business since 1988. In July, they were awarded a similar contract valued at $1.6 million. They have worked with various agencies, including.
May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? This is your building fire safety director. The building will be conducting tests on the Class E system at this time. Please disregard any and all alarm signals you may see and hear unless otherwise instructed until such time testing has been completed. May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? This is your building fire safety director. The building will be conducting tests on the Class E system at this time. Please disregard any and all alarm signals you may see and hear unless otherwise instructed until such time testing has been completed. Thank you for your cooperation.
As I was saying, MECO, a minority-owned company, has done business with Department of Environmental Protection, Metropolitan Transit Authority, Dormitory Authority of the State. Reference checks were performed on past work and found satisfactory. These boiler rooms were destroyed during Sandy. Temporary electrical work was set up and continues there today. There's temporary electrical power and lighting there. This will restore permanent electrical power and lighting. Even though we will not have the boilers in those rooms anymore, it's necessary to have power and permanent lighting there.
Is this lighting to the building or
This
just
is-
the
No,
just
the
the-
basement.
just the
rooms?
just the boiler
The
rooms.
basements.
And I might add, this work, like the boiler demolition work, is all funded by FEMA. It's all approved in the FEMA scope.
So the new boilers will be located somewhere else?
Yes, the new boilers will be in a raised, independent structure, raised above the flood zone. So they will be completely relocated. No permanent mechanical or electrical equipment will go
Outside
back
and
into the
adjacent to
basements.
the buildings in some cases.
Correct.
But they're not there yet, that hasn't been
No.
done yet?
No.
Yeah.
We're not there yet.
No, the temporary boilers that are serving the buildings will continue to serve until the new boilers are installed.
Right. And where are they? Are they below, the temporary, are they below ground? or-
No, they're on the street.
The temporary are on platforms on the street. Some of them are below ground.
Yeah.
They could only, there's limitations
It's only
to
so
how
much space, yeah.
to how high you can raise it.
Okay. Good.
Item number
Sounds
20.
like an improvement.
Item number 27, similar to item number 26, is authorization to award a contract to MECO Electric for $1,180,000, in line with our estimate, to do the boiler room lighting and power at the same developments in Queens and Rockaways that will be doing the boiler demolition. And items 28 through 30, I request to withdraw from this calendar. We will bring them back at a future calendar.
Any questions?
Just so a note, though we haven't got final confirmation on this, checking out, there's a commitment from the mayor, though, to look at reimbursing the agency for the emergency shedding that's being done in response to local law 11. So I want to let the board know that at this point, the shedding work is being discussed as getting out of the
Real time.
real time. $75 million reimbursement from OMB for local law 11. And the final notification will be released.
What's the price, the reimbursement figure?
A $75 million reimbursement budget.
So all of those change orders, which obviously we don't like, sort of result of additional local law DOB findings. So we've been working with City Hall to reimburse the authority for those costs as we have to do them for the health and safety of our residents.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, 30 items were presented for board approval. 27 items were approved. 3 withdrawn, items 28 through 30. I will note that of the 27 that were approved, Board Member Gonzalez will be abstaining on items 7 through 9. Okay? And for record purposes, I know Mr. Barron stepped out of the room for a conference call, but I will confirm for him for the items that he was not present for, what his vote is on those. So being that we do have quorum, I will just formally take a vote. 27 items were presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Does you need a motion?
Motion.
Okay, I voted on all of the things, but I've been on this board since 2013. And I realized that the Hurricane Sandy, all of that, it's been well taken care of. But out of as long as I've been on this board, A. Philip Randolph was one of the first ones that was presented. I got a call that still has not been completed. And overall, none of the Upper West Side developments are ever included in these resolutions. And they need work done too. So I'd like to know, why is it that these developments, and the one that they did finally do something on, which was King Towers, is botched, and tomorrow I'm going to a city hall hearing on that. But they need work done on the upper side, upper west side. Those developments need a lot of work done. I get calls from all of the 5 boroughs, and I have related to the general manager, to his assistant and everyone. But I just like to know, why is it that those developments are never included in any of this, and when they do, it's like patchwork? But they really need a lot of work done on those developments up there. And the people are asking me constantly, why is it that these developments are never included? And like I said, I may be kicked off again, Madam Chair, but I'm just asking because it's been asked to me. Why are these developments never included when they are doing resolutions? And it's always Queens, it's always Brooklyn, it's always Staten Island, never Upper Manhattan. And I'd like to know why. Because they definitely need work done on those developments as well, excluding the ones that are done for Hurricane Sandy. I understand all of that, and they really need to be done. But you also have other developments that need work done. Windows, roofing, all of that. And I would appreciate that the next time that they do send a contract to the Upper West Side, that they send one that's going to do the work and not get paid for doing something that they haven't done. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Okay.
Can we have a motion?
I make a motion.
To adjourn? All in favor?
Aye. I move that the members be authorized to meet in committee and executive sessions today and on any adjourned or rescheduled future date to discuss tenancy termination proceedings, grievances, real estate, and financial matters concerning the authority.
Thank you, everyone.
Motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.